Mountains offer very diverse habitats. Some of those habitats are a little warmer than the surrounding ones. And so you get species which are adapted to living in those slightly warmer conditions. And we call these areas microrefugia. If they can stay warmer than the surroundings through climate change, then you can expect the species within them to be a little different to those in the normal surrounding areas. These areas become important as we think about future climate change. As climate is going to change in the future, species are going to be forced to move upslope. And where are they going to come from? They're going to come from these microrefugia. So we want to understand the history of microrefugia, how genetically dissimilar they are from populations outside of the microrefuge, and just generally how people interact with these through time as well. We wanted to take a look at this on mountainsides in China, in Africa, and in South America. And so we recruited a team of scientists to work with us as an international collaboration from those countries to investigate the interaction between climate, plants, and people.
The University of São Paulo team of the VULPES project studied changes in the vegetation in various forest and savanna ecosystems of Brazil by analyzing fossil pollen preserved in lake sediments that were dated by the carbon-14 method. By doing so, we were able to locate the former distribution of microrefuges, as well as to establish their floristic composition and to see how they changed through time due to climatic changes. The fossil data also allowed us to understand why and how different tree species were able to migrate to higher regions, as well as to the lowlands of a very large section of the South American continent. Our work was funded by VULPES, the São Paulo State Research Foundation in São Paulo, Brazil.
Our team studied the beach in subtropical southern China based on the DNA data, surface pollen data, and simulation of Maxent model. We studied its migration route and microrefugia according to the geographical map. The results show there were widest refugia in the low altitude area of subtropical China, and there exists genetic exchange in different altitude of beach community. According to the data of chloroplast DNA data, the differentiation of beach population began from 800,000 years ago, which may be related to the cycle of glacial interglacial in Quaternary. The Maxent simulation shows the beach has the largest distribution during the Eocene period and then glacial reduced. In the future 2070, it may disappear in subtropical China. Thank you.
Afro-montane forests host a unique biodiversity distributed in isolated, high-elevation habitats, often described as islands within a matrix of rainforests or savannas. Yet they share a remarkable flora that raises questions about past connectivity between currently isolated forests. Through the VULPES research program, we focused on the Podocarpus latifolius and Podocarpus melanogenus complex of species. These Podocarpaceae are the most widely distributed conifers throughout the sub-Saharan African islands, allowing us to understand the effects of past environmental changes on African high mountains. To infer the evolutionary history of podocarps, we combined paleoecological data and genetic data using innovative genomic tools. Despite the ancient and highly fluctuating history of podocarps in Africa revealed by paleobotanical records, the extended distribution of current Podocarpus latifolius and melanogenus lineages is shown to result from a more recent history, mostly during the mid-late Pleistocene, when Afro-montane forests were once far more widespread and continuous. Confronting phylogenomic and paleoecological data, we argue that the species originated in East Africa and reached the islands of the Atlantic side of Africa through two probable latitudinal migration corridors, one in the north towards the Cameroon volcanic line and the other in the south towards Angola. A higher impact of genetic drift and further loss of diversity can be expected by survival through climatically unfavorable periods in such small refugia, population in Central Africa. Tracking quaternary legacy of podocarp population is thus essential through a multidisciplinary approach for their conservation, since there is a temporal gap between environmental crisis and an ecological genetic answer at the population level.
Yes, a dynamic vegetation model is a mathematical tool that allows to calculate the vegetation growth, vegetation growth like photosynthesis and so on, and you can use it for the future as well as for the past. And to use it, especially in mountain area, it is important to have good information on the climate and precise information on the climate. And it is also important to have precise characteristic properties of the species you want to study. And for that, we went to the field. We studied especially Atlas cedar, and we went to Morocco, the Rif and Atlas mountain in Morocco, to collect leaves or needles from the Atlas cedar. And this allowed to inform the model in some way about its properties, and to be more confident in the fact that in the response of the model for the future, as well as for reconstructing vegetation in the past, and this with some details.
The VULPES project in Ecuador and Peru was a very important opportunity to apply the new narrative of transdisciplinary science to tackle a very important question. Is it possible for microrefugia to be effective in conservation of mountain biodiversity? As it was an opportunity to explore this new way of handling conservation, we applied different methodological approaches from the social sciences. We actually used some of the paleoecological data available and some of the genomic data available on some species, trying to find the opportunity to suggest alternative ways to highlight this option for local officials, for local scientists, scholars, and students to incorporate this new approach of microrefugia.
One of the main outcomes of the VULPES project is the identification of microrefugia where some mountain tree species may be preserved. In Morocco, for instance, we have identified microrefugia in the Rif Mountains where fragmented populations with high genetic diversity have some chance to persist locally for a longer period of time. In South America, we found out that in the past, oak species survived in microrefugia which helped them to expand afterwards when climate became more suitable. In China, where our work is still underway, we haven't found clear locations of these microrefugia to protect beech from potential future extinction. These urge us to seek other options for species conservation. Preserving mountain tree species in their modern suitable habitats may represent an option for some mountain tree species. However, other options must be sought or investigated for other different mountain tree species. We thank the Belmont Forum Consortium for funding our VULPES project on the microrefugia concept. Thank you.